What's going on, everybody?
What's up, guys? Technical difficulty show. Woo!
Yeah, we're doing little things slightly different. David, who lives in the great, wonderful, always perfect Texas, has his power cut off for some reason. It just happened on a whim today.
Not power.
Oh, whatever. His internet's down. I'm sorry. Internet is down.
Yeah, my internet's
His internet
down.
just went
Jesus.
down. Just. I mean, you guys should be that surprised in our crash episode. I mean, how many times did you lose connection for the share play?
Yeah, that's different.
But I mean, that's indicative of this. Just like it's not like a surprise that your internet's down. Anywho, guys, we're still making it work. We're talking over the phone and recording separately. That's why I have my Bluetooth in my ear, and David has. Well, he's using just his headphones, so he doesn't look any different. But that's why this is in my ear, as opposed to the headphones I usually have. But anyways, guys, welcome to the CHG podcast. Almost 2 months in, David. Almost 2 months in. It's episode 7.
We're almost in a serious high school relationship. We get the 2 months. That's some serious shit. Like, we're gonna get our friends are gonna start asking if we're doing it yet,
and if we're in love.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since I don't know why, but I pictured you as the girl in this relationship, so you'll be asking if you're in love, and then my friends will be like, "Dude, have you fucked her though?
Dude, have you done it yet though, man? Come on, man.
Have you done it though?
Yeah, have you done it though?
Like, what's her boobs look like?
Yo, bro, what's that butt look like, man? Like she got a bush or what?
Get in pretty serious. Pretty serious.
Anyways, this is CHG podcast where we talk about games. Just having high level, somewhat smart conversations about video games. My name is RJ, and the other guy his name is David.
My name is David.
The dude in my ear, his name's David.
What he said.
Anyways, so we're gonna get right into it. I don't think this one's gonna be as long as the last few have been. But anyways, we're gonna start off talking about what games we're playing. David, what are you playing?
Pretty much nothing. I've been overloading on school. So if you count Blackboard as a video game, a lot of Blackboard.
Oh, you guys, is that like your guys' like little suite you guys for your online classes? Is that you guys still use that?
Blackboard.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, like one of my teachers uses it.
Okay.
But like all my classes have one,
mm-hmm.
but like only one of my teachers uses it for anything, and he barely uses it. So
yeah, I remember when I was my freshman year of college, I went to University of Washington, and we had Blackboard, but then like literally the freshman year after that, everyone transitioned it to something called Canvas, which I don't know that
Canvas
is that a general thing, or is that a UW proprietary thing?
No, I use Canvas.
Okay.
For my summer classes at another community college.
Yeah, well, it seemed to me the way that my professors were framing it seemed to be like as if Blackboard was shutting down, because they were just saying like everyone's leaving it, we're going to Canvas. In my head, I just thought like, oh, Blackboard is just being obsolete, but according to you, it is not.
I'm using it right now.
But then again, It is Texas. I'm not surprised you guys are still hanging on to outdated technology. Anyways, well, I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry you're not playing anything. Mine's not a situation not going much better. I am still playing that stupid Remnant game, and I'm still playing the stupid roguelike mode because I just cannot fucking get 10 bosses in a row killed. It is the hardest shit. I hate this mode so much. I bitched about it last week. The bitching has not gone away. I still hate this mode so fucking much. I joined a PSN, a PlayStation Network group, that I guess they just play Remnant. I guess they fucking love Remnant. I don't know why. But they just do that. And
somebody has to. So.
I mean, someone has to. But it's just, they love it so much. But we still haven't. I played a few runs with them, but we still haven't been able to get it. I've done a few solo runs on my own, and I got to like 6 bosses yesterday. No, the day before, and then I died. And then I'm currently at 5. My game's suspended for now, but I'm gonna play it later tonight and see if maybe this will be the run that does it. I don't fucking know, but I hate this. I hate this mode. I just can't wait to be done with it. I cannot wait. But yeah, that's unfortunate. So I guess it's kind of a depressing start to the episode. Yay. Let's try to make something a little more fun. So Dave, I don't know if you caught my message about the random question for the day. But
yeah, I was in class, but I think I saw it.
Okay, so today's question, a little quick question, is basically what game, and it has to be it can't be a franchise per se. It has to be like a series. It has to be just a one single game. What game do you wish would have had a sequel?
I guess I'll go with the easy one. Is just I want another Fallout New Vegas 2.
No,
Which
it can't be a game that has I said it has to be a one-off thing, not a
oh,
series.
one-off?
One-off only.
I mean, technically it's a one-off.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
But okay, all right. I don't know. You go first. I'll think of something.
Okay.
Think of something.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think myself because I mean, it's so off. It's actually kind of hard to find games that only had one entry. You know.
Yeah, good games that only had one entry.
Good or bad. Even terrible games get sequels. But yeah, I mean, the one that kind of pops in my head that I've played was, do you remember Enslaved Odyssey to the West?
Yeah.
Yeah, back in like 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played that game and I thought it wasn't half bad. I didn't think it was as good as the reviews made it seem, because the reviews had like high praise. Like we're talking like high 7s, 8s, maybe a few 9s thrown in there. I thought it was okay. I thought it was maybe like a 7 at best. But I thought the premise was still fun enough. The characters were interesting enough. I mean, it took a weird swerve at the end. I don't know how much you remember about that game, but you played as this dude named Monkey.
Yeah.
And he was with this woman named Trip, I think, or Trip. I don't know, something like that. Of course, he's the brute. She's like more mechanically inclined and all that stuff. And they're trying to just escape this futuristic apocalyptic world. This is a strange premise. But anyways, I forget why or how, but he gets like a little ring on his head that he can't take off for whatever reason. He's not, I think like, I don't know, he'll die or something. But at the end, towards the third act of the game, the Trip, she figured out how to get the helmet off his head.
Mm-hmm.
And she does. And it comes off the head. But then he says, put it back on me, or like reactivate. I don't know, something like that. And she's like confused. And I'm confused. And I'm pretty sure everyone else was confused. Like, this was your thing of like captivity, of slavery, or whatever. Like, why would you? I might have to play the game again or read a synopsis on it again to figure out why he wanted it back on his head. But at the time, it made no sense. But other than that little swoop, and also the ending was really kind of lackluster, in my opinion. Like the person pulling the strings was like some dead, like decrepit, like kind of like Mr. House from New Vegas. Like, it was just like a computer. Yeah, it was like a similar thing like that. And at the end, like Trip, they just basically unplugs him or whatever. But it was really, it was a huge letdown, in my opinion. Like, it wasn't pulled off as well as Mr. House, because even though Mr. House was the same premise, like his body was like down, in that building, the casino or whatever, just held for preservation, but his mind was uploaded to the machine or whatever.
Yeah,
that still had a good premise, because you had a good dialogue and then you learn all the secrets behind everything. This I don't know why. It dropped the ball, in my opinion. But regardless of all that, the game was still pretty fun. A lot of exploration. Combat was varied. There was a point in the game where you could like do like little like I would say snowboarding, because you're on like a little circular device, but you basically do that on like water, like through like lakes or whatever. Kind of like, I guess, waveboarding, but still not exactly. I guess maybe surfing's the right word. I don't know, but that was hella fun. And yeah, I feel like I think there was enough there to do a sequel. I mean, based off a book, I don't think they covered the entire book. So I think there was something there for them to do a sequel.
Yeah. I mean, like I never played it. I heard it was like a kind of a cult classic. Like those who played it really liked it, but it wasn't played a lot, which is probably why it didn't have a sequel.
Yeah, I think it only sold like 1 million or so copies at the time, and I don't even know if it even hit 2 million. It was made by, I believe, Ninja Theory. I think it was the same people that made Heavenly Sword, which I think was Ninja Theory. Ninja Theory. It wasn't Team Ninja, it was Ninja Theory. And they're kind of like, they kind of unfortunately are kind of stuck in that little like niche audience. Like every game they make are really good, usually, at least critically good, but their audiences doesn't hit a wide range of people.
Well, they're owned by Microsoft now, so if they come out with an Enslaved Odyssey to the West 2, then it'll be on Game Pass and more people will play it, as per our,
maybe
our conversation.
Maybe, but I mean, like, because Hellblade 2 is coming for Xbox, and we'll have to see how much better that does compared to the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, because just because they're under Microsoft's wing doesn't mean that they're. I mean, yes, their reach can expand higher, but that's not necessarily a one-to-one
No.
correlation. So we'll
No.
have to see. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But anyways, what's yours?
All right. So I couldn't think of anything like that I feel really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say Bully. Like I loved the first
Oh.
Bully,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a lot of fun. And the fact that they got a good deal into Bully 2 and then canceled it, probably because they couldn't figure out how to do a Bully online, because they're greedy assholes. But yeah, I'd probably say Bully. It was great. I was really looking forward to like the concept art that was coming out and like the ideas that people were having for like what the game would be.
Mm-hmm.
I was really stoked for it. But Rockstar was like, "Nah, fam, can't exploit online to make a whole bunch of money."
Well, I wonder
So
how much Bully sold, because I know, of course, it is. I mean, trust me, this is the first time I've heard people wanting a Bully sequel. Even though I personally never played it, it wasn't really up my alley.
I mean,
But
it sold
but
pretty
how much did
well.
it? You remember how much it sold though?
It sold. I'm pretty sure it sold pretty well, if only just because of the controversy that it caused.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, I can look it up real quick.
I mean, we
Bully
don't need full
sales.
sales figures here because I'm thinking like what they could possibly do is that because they can come out like what 2005 or whatever, and I believe Red Dead Revolver came out in the early 2000s too, which is of course a Rockstar game as well, which is like the predecessor kinda does Red Dead Redemption. They're not
Yeah,
really that related, but they are, and they're not like the same universe I think either. But like
they're
there's just like
no,
some
they're technically the
inspirations.
same universe,
Are they? Okay,
from
well,
what
they're
I
still treated
remember.
as entirely different games, though. Um, I think what they could do is just like the do what they did with Red Dead Revolver to Red Dead Redemption with Bully. Like maybe not make it a direct sequel, but like a spiritual successor sequel type of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that might be a easier route to go. That's just I don't know. That's just my opinion. But you
Total sales, uh, point 0.94 million. So not even a million.
yeah, not even yeah. That's not good enough for Rockstar. I
Yeah.
mean, when you have like what this is like 2004, 2005, when you got like what Vice City, I think was around that time, or San Andreas,
But
pulling
like
in
the pretty much just like,
multiple millions.
and this might only be the PlayStation 2 copy. I'm not sure on the data here, but
Mm,
so it might just be PlayStation 2. But like, I don't know. Like I think a lot of these, and I mean it's a whole business before your fans kind of thing. Like there's so many games that us as fans want that the companies are just like, it's not worth making for us. So like Bully 2 or Half-Life 3, like it's just not worth it financially for them, financially or clout, to make these games. Um,
yeah, no, I get it.
so
But I mean, I think more so with Bully for sure. I mean, you have especially nowadays I mean, with how much work is going into like I mean the amount of work that went into Red Dead Redemption 2, the amount of work that even went into GTA 5,
yeah,
even GTA 4 for that. I mean, going back then too. I mean, and of course, how much? I mean, who knows how much work is going to be has been and will continue to be put into GTA 6.
yeah, it would be
I
weird to
mean,
like
it's
put the same, like it's weird to say this, but it'd be weird to put the same amount of work into a Bully 2 game than they
mhm.
put into Red Dead 2. Like I just can't see there being, like, it's just not that type of game that that like that much detail would be put into. Especially with the concept art that was coming out for it. It was very still like cell shaded kind of feel to it, and maybe that's part of the reason. Maybe it just didn't feel on brand for them anymore. Um,
Hmm.
because like back then when Bully 2 was made, like their brand was like shock, it's kind of like shock culture, like against
Yeah,
the grain kind of thing, and Bully
yeah,
fit that. But now it's less that and more just like these immersive living worlds that like have all this, like fucking GTA had a working economy, like a working stock market, that like you could actually play the stock market the same way you would play the stock market in real life. And then,
really.
yeah. And then, there was ways that you could manipulate it because it was GTA. So like there was ways that you could, you know, like cheat the system. But if you were just
Insider
playing it,
trading.
yeah, insider trading and doing stuff that would affect stock markets. But one, you could do stuff that would affect the stock market, which is crazy. But like if you wanted to, you could play it just on the trends. And then of course then you have Red Dead 2 that has all the fucking realism in it, like with horses, balls, and all sorts of shit. And so maybe that's why. Maybe it just didn't fit the brand. They just, a cell shaded game about, a high schooler, and then they were gonna put him in his like in his hometown, it was gonna be like hillbillies and shit. Like maybe it just didn't fit brand for him. But
I mean,
I
yeah.
like to see it. But yeah.
I mean, as far as because you got to look like, which I'm pretty sure they did too, is like, so I think you have to bring up a good point about the shock culture thing. When you remove the shock culture of bully, what do you have left, right? Do you just have a generic open world game with a solid story, or do you have something that actually has as good of a legacy as people might think?
I think so. I think so. Like the shock culture thing wasn't why I liked the game, and I don't think it was like anyone liked the game. It might have been why people got into the game because they were like, they're hearing shit about this game. It's bully, so like you're gonna be the bully, which wasn't even what the game was. I mean, you could frame him as a bully, but it was really just about like bullies and how bullies interact with students and another bully. So basically, like your character was like the bully of bullies, and he basically ended bullying because he was the bully of bullies. But no, like the storyline was cool. There was a lot of intricacies, like between who was the real bully, and you had this friend who was kind of an asshole and was manipulating you the whole time. And like, although he was your friend and like he said he was your friend, by the end of the game he became like the real bully because of he did everything to manipulate you into doing what he wanted. So like there was cool story elements. The mini games were really fun. Like the classes were really fun. And like if you got in trouble and got detention, there was detention mini games that like at one, like they're both like were kind of fun to do, but also a chore to do. So like it felt like detention, like mowing the yard. Like it was kind of fun, but like once you do it one time, like you don't want to do it again because it's just mowing the yard. But no, there was a lot of cool elements, a lot of cool ideas. Just like how to tackle, what clicks are you gonna tackle first, because each click had like certain benefits that you would get by becoming their king or whatever, the ruler of that clique, whether it was the jocks or the nerds or the cheerleaders. You could get a girlfriend and like have that, like they had like a whole basic, you get her gifts and like talk to her and shit, but like you could get a girlfriend, and it would, in your click status would determine like what girls that you could get to be your girlfriend. So no, it was cool. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, it'll probably never get a sequel.
I think if it ever did happen, I think they have what they think they might want us to do, and it's probably like wrap up this conversation here on that, but is transition it away from high school, make it college.
Yeah,
and then
but
you can also focus on. I know there's not as much of a social aspect when you transition from high school to college. I get that.
Yeah.
But I feel it's just a natural progression. If you want to, unless you're making all the characters different, it's a natural progression.
It is.
In my opinion.
It is, but it just depends.
You could also,
on what they do.
And of course, you have to include a huge cyberbullying component to it, because the cyberbullying then can play into like to the physical bullying, which is what they based, which are the what it was based on, and you can maybe like try to like, I don't know, befriend people that can like track down who's like leaving shitty comments on people, like ruining people's lives, and then you go and like go get them or whatever, like has like hits almost or something. I don't know. That's just a mechanic I'm just thinking on top of my head. But anyways, no more of that. Let's get to the main conversation here. Now we're gonna talk about this week reboots, remakes, remasters. And in light of the recent Saints Row reboot and the Dead Space remake that have been announced recently, I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about that today. And kind of just talking about like our experiences with it, our thoughts on it, the practice itself, like just the concept itself. Do we like it? Do we not? And just give some thoughts on it. David, do you play a lot of remaster, remakes, and reboots?
I was thinking about this, and no, like I can't think of a single game other than Skyrim that I have played like the remaster of all the way through. Like not even a Mass Effect, and I plan on doing Mass Effect. I just haven't had time to invest in a game that large. There just isn't a lot of games that I have played in my life, especially long enough ago that they would have remasters and remakes now that kind of warrant that. Like they're never gonna remaster Gran Turismo 2. Although I would love it if they did, but there's no reason to remaster Gran Turismo 2. And again,
you actually don't see. So I was just saying, you don't see a lot of racing games get remastered at all.
No. Because why remaster? They can just make another one. Like there's no reason. There's not a story or anything that you would lose by just updating and making a new one. Like we've discussed before, if they ever remaster, Fallout 3 or New Vegas, I'll be all over that shit. But as far as I'm just thinking ones off the top of my head. You have the Final Fantasy remake, remaster, whatever. Don't care about that at all. Tried it, still not my thing. You have the Hitman, kind of remaster.
That was
whatever.
A reboot. That was more of a reboot.
I would enjoy those games for a hot minute, but I wouldn't play it for too long. You have the recent Wind Waker one. Although I will say that Breath of the Wild is probably one of the best games I've ever played. I'm not a original Zelda fan. Like the games just don't do it for me. I've tried a couple different Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, like all the ones that people are like, oh, this one's the good one. It's good. I can see why people like it, but it's just not my thing. Although Breath of the Wild absolutely is. So like I've thought of a whole bunch, and there's just none that I'm like. I guess like Crash was cool and I liked it, but it wasn't one that I was losing my mind about or anything like that. I think, yeah, there's no games that have been like rebooted that I can think of that I really like cared about or latched onto, before or after, that I can think of.
I'm trying to think. I haven't played a whole lot, and it's sometimes because I don't have the right console, sometimes because it's the wrong genre, but I'm trying to think of the ones like either a remaster or I remember I played a lot of the back on the PS3 360 era when they were doing like those like HD classic remasters, which they usually did if it was like a trilogy, so it like started with like God of War, and then Sly Cooper, and then Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Tomb Raider had one, Prince of Persia had one, Splinter Cell had one, Zone of Enders had one. Those ones I could think of the top of my head. I'm pretty sure there was a couple others.
I will say, like, like for what I like, the one that I did play, the Skyrim, when it was remade or remastered, updated textures and shit for the Xbox One. I played it. I liked it. I love that world and stuff, and just it being, just that much prettier. Even though I already thought that the game was, really gorgeous in pieces. Seeing it even better looking was really cool. I do have to admit, like for things like the Resident Evil 2 and 3, remaster, remake, whatever you want to call those. I can recognize the inherent coolness of it, and if I liked those games, I would lose my shit over that. Like I said, like if Fallout New Vegas or 3 got a Resident Evil 2 like that kind of step up remaster, I would lose my shit. Like it would be a momentous day for me. Yeah, so like I get I
think
get why it's cool, but I just haven't run into anything in my personal experience that I've been like, oh, cool.
and it seems to be the issue is because they're just not along your lines of games, which I feel. I know you try a lot of games, especially because you work at GameStop and all that. You have access to all the games. You are, feel you are more strict and you are kind of more limited of the
And
games
I
you
was
like
just
to
looking
play,
off a few,
which
just off Google, and like I did play The Last of Us remaster, but I played that one first, because I think I played it on the PlayStation 4. Pretty sure.
no, you told me you bought a PS3 and played
That is
the
right.
original.
That is right. So I may have never played the remaster. So
You did.
Yeah, because I don't replay games. And
also,
that,
you would buy. I mean, why? Well, maybe you did because you do have a own PS4.
yeah, but I
so
don't think
you
I did. I don't think I did. I didn't think I did replay it because, yeah, like I said, I don't replay games that much unless they, like, again. I if it significantly changed, I would replay it. And Skyrim's different just because there's so many different ways to play that game. But
well, also the mods that were included.
yeah, that was pretty fun too.
Thing. But anyways, yeah, so I mean, like I played a whole lot of the early ones that were brought on the PS3 360 era. I think I played almost all of those HD classics. I did play the Prince of Persia, Tomb Raider, even the Hitman one, which I was not a fan of, but I still played it. Of course, Ratchet and Clank, Jack, Sly, God of War, of course those. But when it comes to the PS3 to PS3 to PS4, I've only played a small handful. So I have played The Last of Us Remastered 1. I did do Dishonored. No, I did not do the Definitive Edition. I just did the original one. But I do have a code for it. Anyways, yeah, so I haven't actually played a whole bunch from PS3 PS4, and the big reason is because I didn't play the original PS3 version. And me personally, I do like to play an older one and see and to fully appreciate the more spruced up one. So like I do have plans eventually to play like the Sleeping Dogs Definitive Edition, the DMC Special Edition. I'm not gonna do Dishonored though, because I'm not gonna do that DLC again. It was fucking a nightmare. But I can't think of it. I mean, but I know there's a whole bunch, and I will eventually play them. Like I did buy Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered because I loved the reboot on that one, the Hot Pursuit reboot from 2010. I did love that game, so I did buy the remaster on that. Which is funny, they're remastering a reboot, but whatever. And of course, I played I played Tomb Raider. I did play Tomb Raider, the reboot Tomb Raider 2013, and I do have the definitive edition of that as well, which I'm actually currently playing with Travis, as some of you guys may have seen of some recent uploads I put out. But for me, it's not because I haven't played as many recently, but my reason is just because I want to play the old ones first. Sometimes it's not within my genre. Like for instance, I don't know if I'll do Dead Space remake. I'm not sure. I'm not the biggest horror fan, and there are some other ones that I don't know if I'll do. Like I don't know if I'll do Final Fantasy VII. Like I didn't play that initially. I've never been the biggest fan of Final Fantasy. I'm not a big fan of JRPGs, at least in that style. So as a little, I know yours is mainly because it's just it's not like it's just not a game you care about that much. You know what you like, which is fine. But it's just you don't have the time. You have less time than I do, so you don't have time to just be free willy playing, like trying your luck with a certain genre of game or whatever, right? Like, which is fine. But since I have more of a fluidity with type of games I like, and I definitely broadened my horizons over the years. But yeah, I mean, I do want to play more, and I will eventually get to them. But just for now, just because I just want to play the old ones first, and I'm busy with other games. But even though you haven't played a whole lot of them, David, how do you feel?
I mean, I think the best way to describe it is how I already did. Like, if they did Fallout, like again, I would be ecstatic. So like, I feel good about them. I get that there's some people that are on the companies are milking, the same game over and over again, instead of making new games, which I get that. I get that idea, but at the same time, like video games, it's like when you read a good book. Like you can reread a good book, over and over again because it's a good book. Video games is a little bit different because our expectations of graphics change over time, over playing the latest graphical game and stuff like that. The enjoyment for a lot of people is inherently hurt because of the difference in graphical power. So like there are experiences that people remember in their head as amazing, but then because of just the age of the system that it's on, they go back and it just doesn't hold up anymore. And that's kind of a disappointment and a letdown. With remakes, it's like breathing new life, or at least the same life, back into that work of art. So like I think it's fine. I understand if people get mad that they haven't made a new game in their genre, in that series for a while or whatever. But I like it. I enjoy it. I wish, like, I know because I wish that they would do it for the shit that I like. So if I am saying that, I get it. As far as like re um, reboots, like the Saints Row, I think when it makes sense, they need to do it. The problem is that, like, going away from what worked for you is hard to do, but you have successes like, for example, Fallout 3 was a reboot. It was completely separate identity than the first few Fallout games, and it worked really well for them. Um, there's other examples too, but I just can't think of the top of my head. But then you have like reboots, like arguably Mass Effect Andromeda was kind of a reboot because you're going completely different characters and story. The game is, I guess, arguably technically similar, as far as style is concerned, but um, the feel of it is different, and that didn't go too well for them going away from Commander Shepard. I think as long as you do it well and good, I think you can keep the IP that people associate with, and inject a new life into stuff that nobody was going to play again. If they came out with a new Saints Row that was the same over the top shit, that they put out, with 4, you just, once you jump the shark, you just can't keep on jumping a bigger shark, or you just run out of shit to do. So I'm interested in the Saints Row reboot. I think if they do some cool stuff with it, I like the ideas they were throwing out, that like you're gonna run your own gang, and it's gonna be more like a resource simulator. Like you're gonna do more with your actual operations of the gang, and like what they're in, what your gang is doing, which I think could be a really cool concept if it turns into like a Grand Theft Auto, but you're running an organization of gangs and you're looking to extend your operations and stuff. I think that would be super dope. So it it allows them to be creative, and less restrained. Um, so and I'll say this a lot, and I've said this a lot with other topics and stuff like that. If it's done well, I trust the artist to do their job. I don't want to put in any of my expectations into art, because a lot of times when you do that, it gets fucked up, either by you stretching your expectations beyond what they can do, or you imagining something that they weren't imagining. So when the product's out, even if it's a good product, it's still fucked for you. Um, so I'll just put it in their hands, and like if they make a good game, if it's a good game, I'm gonna enjoy it, whether it's a remake, remaster, or whatever. So
Well then, well said there, David. So if I give my thoughts, so when it comes to remakes or remasters, well, actually, all three, I am a huge supporter of them. I love them. I've always loved them, and whether it's a game I care about or not, a game I know I will absolutely not play, or a game I absolutely will, I love them. I just love the idea of bringing back older titles, whether it's just a simple higher resolution textures, or if it's a complete building from the ground up remake, or whether it's a complete reboot. I love them. And reboots all life are really fun because those are more interesting because you don't know what direction they're going to take. But there hasn't ever been a time where I've seen a remake or a remaster and I've rolled my eyes. Now some people can be, and I understand, especially if you want to take a more cynical approach, you might think, oh, like David said, instead of making a sequel, you do this. But sometimes it's easier to go that route. Sometimes it's safer to go that route. Because if something works, especially if what you're remastering and remaking worked before, sometimes it's also it's a strategic move for businesses, for companies, for publishers and or developers, because it allows you to test the waters on that IP. So for instance, what's the game recently that came out? Oh, for instance, for you Switch owners, including David, I guess, what's that game called? Fatal Frame Black Maiden's coming out soon. I think at the end of the month or something like that. It's a Fatal Frame, David. Yeah. The okay, cool. Yeah. Well, for those who don't, it is a horror series. It is actually apparently one of the most acclaimed horror series. It's also pretty old too. They've always more stuck with Nintendo for the last several years, but they were on PS2 back in the day. But basically, the premise of it, their twist is that to capture spirits or whatever have you, you have to take a picture of them, but you have to get close for your frame to actually catch the picture. So that's why I call Fatal Frame, because you have the camera. It's very tense. I've seen people play it. It is crazy. I don't think I ever will. But anyways, the director, producer, whatever, he's been on record a few times now saying that this game coming out is like a remaster of one of the earlier ones. I don't know which one, but he's using this as a test to see where he can go with the series in the future. And this is not the first time this has been done. Crash Bandicoot did that. I think Spyro had the same reasoning for that too. I think Tony Hawk had the same thing with the 1 and 2 remaster or remake. It's a strategic move to just see that, is this IP still healthy? Like if it sells like a couple million copies, that's a good enough indicator for the developer and or publisher to be like, okay, there's still life in this IP. So maybe now we can actually think about making a sequel, which is always good for everybody, because then you got this remake of a game, of a classic that you loved, that's getting a new breath of fresh air, a new lease on life. And then you have also the possibility of there being a sequel later on that can build on these newfound, taking more modern mechanics of something that was classic and now making something entirely new, while also keeping the identity, but with the same more modern concepts, right? Like how they did with Crash. Like I know they took the art design crazy and the difficulty out of nowhere, but they just took more modern approach to the controls, and they're like, okay, now we can take that to 4, but make it a whole new story and all that stuff. If Crash remake, if that trilogy had flopped, we probably wouldn't have Crash 4. So that's why I'm a huge advocate for all that stuff. And when it comes to reboots, though, reboots are more interesting. I'm still a fan of them, or a favor of them, but you never know what you're going to get. And I think it is best to do what David said and temper your expectations, or taper, whatever. Don't let your expectations get too crazy with any kind of reboot. Like, I know sometimes you can get caught in the hype and all that stuff, but you don't want to set yourself up, for just something, because with a reboot, obviously you're going to be like, oh, I remember Saints Row 3 and how good that was, or even Saints Row 2, and you might just frame in your head like, oh, it'll be something like that. But with a reboot comes with a whole new direction that they can take an IP or a franchise. So you don't want to get too caught up. Those all saying Volition, I think, are still the developers of this reboot, and they've already gotten to some spats online with some fans about this reboot, because some people don't like the way it looks or what they're talking about probably trying to do, and they're like, but because they have rose tinted glasses of Saints Row 4 or 3 or whatever, because a lot of people don't like the fact that they're not really bringing any of the returning characters. Yeah. But it's it's a reboot. Well, it's a reboot. They have the right to do that. But it is a two-pronged sword, because you do risk abandoning people who are just so stuck on the original iteration of a game, right? Especially when it is full of a lot of different characters like like Saints Row had, and that's something Mass Effect had too. Like, yeah, it has the same races, and then it has the same like layout of how the game would work. But obviously, like there's no Shepard. There's not a whole lot of really any of the remaining characters from before. And for a series as rich as Mass Effect is, with this lore and characters and development, all that stuff, it's like hard to let
Yeah,
go of
I
all
think
that.
when you do
And
that,
so,
like you either need to separate the game enough that the fan base isn't reminded of the characters, or introduce new characters that are so cool in their own right that they can measure up to the other people. And I think with Andromeda you had just the worst of both, is that it reminded you so much, and it was trying to remind you so much of this galaxy saving person, akin to Commander Shepard, but then the fucking no one even remembers the name of the protagonist from Andromeda, because they were too vanilla and they weren't cool, and like there's no memorable characters from Andromeda.
yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, you gotta have. I was gonna say the only like what you should just do, as like the only thing, at least the most important thing is, yeah, if you're going to use the same IP and the same kind of just essence of what came before, but going with whole new cast and whole new everything, well then you got to make sure that these people are written just as well, if not better, than what was before. If you want to have us have a Turian again right by our side, well then they got to be just as fucking
Yeah.
good as Garrus was, if not better, but also be different, so that it's not just like, oh, you're just copying what was before, which I know is a huge struggle when it comes to creating these kind of characters, and you still never know exactly how they're going to get pulled off to the wider audience, but that is what you have to
Yeah.
try to accomplish. But sometimes doing like remasters actually helps flesh out a franchise, because like you look at Yakuza, they're a great example. So they had like Yakuza up to 5 on the PS3, and then Yakuza 6 finally came on the PS4, and then Yakuza was still showing good strong sales, I'm sure, like over in Japan and in the US, that they were able to be like, okay, great. We realized that there's Yakuza 6 on the PS4, there's Yakuza 3 through 5 on the PS3. Let's remaster them for the PS4. Let's bring those over, and then let's remake Yakuza 1 and 2 as Kiwami 1, or Kiwami and Kiwami 2, and then also bring Yakuza 0 as a prequel to all of that, and then Yakuza 7 as like a continuation, but also kind of moving into the same, getting away from it, but still keeping the essence. Like Yakuza, I think, is a good example
Yeah,
of
well,
how it can
I
be done
think
right.
what Yakuza has, I guess, in favor of it, at least in the States here. Crap, I just did something on my controller. Is that it wasn't well known in the States, the other games. So a lot of people got into Yakuza. I can't remember what ones was in the States, but like that's their recollection of the series. They don't have that building upon. So like they had to um the problem that I think that they had was like, okay, if we are going to bring 1 through 3 to the States, it has to be in the same engine as the ones that the American audience fell in love with, or they're just not going to play them because they don't have nostalgia for the first 2 games. So they're going to see it in this low res, version and just be like, oh shit, never mind. So like they had to remaster them. They didn't have a choice. I don't think if they came out and just was like, hey, we're porting, 1 through 3 to the US, I don't think it would have gone over nearly as well. So like they had to, and also they also could do whatever they wanted with those games because American audiences had never played them before. So like even if they wanted to change something from the first games, it's not like the American audiences would have known. So
That's a good point. I will say Yakuza has had like the opposite effect when I was saying like some developers publishers will use a remaster as like testing the waters for a possible sequel, like a proper sequel. Yakuza had the opposite happen to them. They had released Yakuza 6 and then that did well, so they were like, okay, we can bring the older ones over. Like it's worth the time and effort to do so because people want more Yakuza, and they're like, oh, this is the sixth one. Like, okay, let's get the other five. And they're like, okay, cool. But of course, yeah, they had to have it in the same art direction and the same everything as Yakuza 6 did, or at least for Kiwami and Kiwami 2. 3, 4, and 5 are actually
so they were
just straight
pretty
remasters. But but those came on the PS3, so like that can I'm sure it was okay, at least, you know, okay enough mechanically. But yeah, 1 and 2 for sure. But yeah, it's an interesting situation with Yakuza, but I still feel like they were able to work that really well as far as remasters and reboots, and because now Yakuza 7 is kind of like
the whole gameplay is
kind of how like
different.
Fallout 3 is to Fallout. Yeah, so like that's kind of like that's Yakuza 7 is kind of like,
and they confirmed that like that's what they're gonna stick with
more
for a while, for at least a while.
And yeah, and I mean it is what it is. Yeah, so that can be looked at as a reboot too in a way, but yeah. But anyways, so we're gonna stop here. I feel like otherwise
real quick, while we were having a conversation, I did think of a game series that I have played a lot of remasters of, and it's Pokemon. I totally forgot. Like my favorite Pokemon game is a remaster, Heart Gold. Yeah,
it's Heart Gold.
And I played Omega Ruby and Sapphire, which I actually didn't like as much as just the old school ones. And I will definitely play Diamond and Pearl coming out. I will also play. It's not really a reboot. It's because it's just like any of the other ones that's like GX that's not technically in the main universe, but I'm going to play Arceus, and Arceus looks dope. So I did forget about the Pokemon series because I definitely play those.
That's true. I did too. I mean, Fire Red Leaf Green is hands down.
That was top,
top
just
tier
playing the original original gen, just like with color. With color and with like XP bars. Like as soon as I saw an XP bar, I was just like, holy fuck, an XP bar? Like they could have just added an XP bar and it would have blown my mind. I'd be like,
I mean, you do know that there was XP bars,
but not in the first generation. So like,
okay,
just having that was like, this is all like this is what the game needed, you know.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I also play. I actually have copies of them still, and I will gladly play them again. Anyways, guys, we'll wrap this up here. Hope you guys enjoyed our talk about reboots, remasters, and remakes. Let us know in the comments which ones you guys have played, which ones you guys like. I mean, I don't know how you could have gone your whole life without playing at least one. Even David, as limited as he is, has at least played. I mean, not finished, but he's at least played at least a couple. I mean, you know, he has the Mass Effect one and all that stuff, you know, so I'm sure he can't avoid it forever. By this point, there's got to be a remaster, remake, or reboot that satisfies at least some kind of, you know, genre people like. I mean, you got them over the place. You know, you have there are a few racing ones, some horror ones are coming. You know, you got Action Adventure, which is crazy. You have RPGs. You know, like RPGs, I actually think in them a lot, but a lot of them are on like PC and stuff. But anyways, guys, wrap this up here. Let us know what you guys thought about this down below, along with, you know, remakes, whatever. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.